Hi, good afternoon. My name is Neil Morgan. I am the head of digital workplace experience at Glencore, which is a company that's based in Switzerland, but we're traded publicly on the London and the Swiss exchanges. And today I will give a short presentation around who we are, but also more importantly for this audience, a little bit of an insight into how we've managed to roll out a new intranet experience for our colleagues around the globe. I've been working with Glencore for almost 2 years now, and my role when I joined was to evaluate the existing intranet platforms that exist inside of the group and to look at how we could roll out a global intranet platform to all of our employees. And I'm currently working in the corporate communications function in close coordination with IT and other communication teams in the group. And as you can see from this slide, we have just over 135,000 employees and contractors, and we're present in over 35 countries around the world with around 150 what we refer to as asset sites where the majority of our employees work, and over 30 corporate offices, 35 corporate offices around the globe. This variety of locations and types of locations where we work presents us with a diversity of both challenges as well as opportunities for the digital workplace experience. Oops. As you can see on this slide, Glencore is involved in a range of topics from mining metals and minerals to sourcing several of the products that we use for the energy that we consume on a day-to-day, as well as the marketing of a lot of these products, and selling and transporting these products around the world, and also heavily involved for over 70 years in the recycling of these materials that we produce, but also byproducts of our production. This means that we do have a diversity of roles in different work environments, but it also provides a lot of commonality across the globe in terms of the need for exchanging information, knowledge, best practices across the entire group. One of the biggest challenges we faced with this evaluation and then rolling out of our new digital workplace platforms, as you can see here, is the first circle where it refers to no clear purpose. As we started to investigate the role of the different intranets across the entire Glencore group, we started to realize that most people either didn't know that there was a global intranet or perhaps never really accessed their local intranets. So that was quite a challenge for us to work with the different IT teams primarily to help them understand how visible or how useful the current intranets were. Along with that, as you can see, the role of IT in managing the intranets was not effective in most locations, primarily because most people didn't know what was on the intranet. IT had no way of really telling people about the intranet, and the communications teams were primarily pushing content to IT, who would then just upload it to the intranet. So there was no real emphasis on internal communication across the entire group. Also, it was pretty complicated to navigate some of these intranets because we had over 150 different intranets. It was very difficult to know where do I need to publish information so I can reach the right audience. We had a lot of silos, and in the end, we're still a company that's heavily based on communicating via email. So we send out a lot of emails to target groups, mailing groups, and we're just hoping that this is reaching the right audience. Also, when we evaluated the intranets, one of the points that we also picked up on is a lack of interactive capabilities. So there was no way to have any feedback. There was no commenting available on any of these intranets. There was no community platform across the company. And it made it very difficult for employees to know how to share content with their colleagues working on the same topics, how to not duplicate certain issues. For us, a big point is around safety. For us, the fewer people that die on the job, the better. It sounds very harsh, but in reality, that's our primary concern for our employees, is that we ensure we have a safe work environment and people follow the rules and regulations and guidelines for ensuring that they're working in a safe manner. Also, because a lot of our intranets were siloed, they were either built on SharePoint, some customized, but older versions of SharePoint, as probably many of you know, are not capable of being viewed on the mobile device. And more, as we hired newer and newer people in the group, people had an expectation that they would be able to access this information on the go, access it from their mobile device, or a tablet, or some digital signage within the office, in terms of being able to access certain information about the company, but also being able to access certain applications from their mobile phone. So as part of this approach, in developing a business case for the new intranet, we put a strong emphasis on highlighting the different types of users, as you can see here from these persona profiles, for the type of users we have inside the company and how we needed to focus on their use of the intranet, as well as the gaps in the current intranets. And for us, frontline employees is our largest population of employees. They represent around 2/3 of our employees and includes a number of contractors who typically would not have access to our internal platforms. So providing everyone across the group working in frontline roles with safety information, as I said before, is quite critical. So being able to reach a lot of these contractors who are non-networked, that's a phrase we use quite often inside the company, was a big challenge for us. As well as you can see here, the site office employees, who are those individuals that primarily spend a lot of their time either on an asset site, a facility, it could be working either on a mine site, or it could be working at one of our hospitals or airports or ports that we run. And for them, they are in between this, kind of non-networked and networked role, but a lot of them are usually connected to our internal networks at some point during the day. The corporate office employees, like myself, are those of us who are primarily sitting behind a desk, either at home, as most of us are nowadays, or in the office. And for the majority of the workday, we typically have a laptop or, a desktop computer in front of us. So it was quite easy for us to access most of the tools and easy to use the mobile device. A lot of us have corporate devices as well. So that provided us a lot of opportunity to say, okay, perhaps when we look at all of these profiles, we can provide them with access to the same information on a similar platform, as well as ensuring that they have information coming from the group, as well as from their local office. So it very much made sense for us to combine all of this content into a single platform. For us, as you can see on this slide with the business case, we put a strong emphasis on the tasks that the employees need to do during their workday. And using the profiles that allowed us to highlight to our management teams what it was that was currently not working well on the old intranets and how we could address that with the new platform. So as you can see here, ensuring that people had access to certain policies and procedures, certain standards that they need to follow or guidelines in their day-to-day work was foremost the key content that we needed to ensure was not duplicated across a lot of the different intranets as they are today, and ensuring that those employees who need access to that information can access it in a very easy to use way. The lack of a community platform, as I mentioned before, also highlighted for us a number of opportunities where being able to share lessons learned across the business, talking with a lot of our employees during that pre-study. We had a number of people who mentioned this several times in terms of being able to know who's who in the company, who has what expertise, what have we done in certain parts of the business. So if I'm working in Australia, for sure I can learn from people working in South Africa. If I'm working in the DRC, I can, and I'm speaking French, I can learn and exchange with a lot of my colleagues working in Canada who are also speaking and working in French. So for us, the role of the communities was a very important point that we wanted to stress in the business case as we put this forward to the management team. And naturally, working in communications, being able to broadcast messages across the entire group was very important for us. And as you can see from this slide, being able to reach our employees, whether or not they were on site in an office or in between, is really an important objective for us in reaching out to all of our employees with a similar message, ensuring they have information delivered very timely, that the group can provide mechanisms for employees to talk confidently and securely about the work that they're doing, how they're responding to challenges, as well as ensuring that our mission of being responsible in supplying the commodities that we need, and ensuring that our employees can become advocates for the work that we do. So this was really important for us to ensure we could broadcast our news around the group quite easily. And in the end, what we decided to do is we selected a platform that was, for us based on a social experience. If we, think of a lot of those social intranet platforms that are available today. So we selected the platform from Beezy. As you can see here, a few screenshots included in this slide, which allowed us to, of course, address, as I mentioned before, the gap of not having a community platform, while at the same time providing structured content in multiple languages through a very simple and easy to use interface. Also, as you can see, having access to the information on the mobile, as I've mentioned before, was a key target for us to ensure that we can deliver that content to employees who don't have their own PCs. This is around 60 to 70,000 employees who are in this situation where they don't have their own PC. So delivering this on a corporate device or a personal device was very important for us to ensure that we could reach these employees. And our news center, as mentioned here on this slide, allows us to share news and information across the entire business, which can then be shared into specific expert communities, promoted within an office community, or allowing employees to share that with each other through a single platform. So we've been live now for almost 3 months, and we can already see that our employees are very much appreciating the social features in pages and stories where they can now comment, like, or share that content with their peers. And also the local intranets that we plan to replace over the next year we've been talking a lot with some of these intranet managers in these locations, and they've all expressed, excitement over this capability to have both local communities where they can engage with their employees on site, but also the global expert communities so they can really share information much broader across the group. And over the next year or so, we plan to replace the majorities of these local intranets with this new platform, which will definitely help us to increase the visibility of our colleagues, emphasizing a lot of the knowledge that they have, introducing people to people who've been working in the company for over 15 to 20 years, and using their stories and their knowledge to share and embed best practices across the entire company. So that was a little bit of our story and where we are today with our digital workplace experience. It's been really great to share this story with you. As you can see on my slide, if you want to reach out to me, you can contact me on Twitter. My handle there, Rasneil, and you can also reach out to me on LinkedIn if you would like to, connect and share more information about your experiences or learn more about our experience. And there you can see my name on LinkedIn. So thank you all very much, and looking forward to meeting you either on Twitter or on LinkedIn, or perhaps someday face-to-face.
We are back, and I personally have so many questions, but we do have some questions from actual community people. So, first of all, thank you to Neil. I think it's really interesting. As I mentioned, it's not a community use case that I'm super familiar with, and I think it's really interesting. When you were mentioning people from two different places speaking French to each other, right? How do you handle I mean, you obviously have employees all over. How do you manage the multilingual part of such a global community?
So thanks for the question, Shannon. The challenge for us, I think, in managing multilingual content, one was just getting people to feel comfortable writing in their own language. Naturally, a lot of the content on the internet that you would see on a first view would be in English.
Mhm.
And people may feel comfortable reading English, but they're not always comfortable writing in another language or in English, so they're much more comfortable writing it in their own mother tongue. And the platform, that we've selected allows them to basically enter their comment or their question in their natural language. And for all other users of the platform, it provides a translate button, which allows you to easily, translate inline the information that they've entered, either the question or a comment, and being able to react to that in your own natural language as well. So that for us, I think, was one of the areas where we knew that we had to publish a lot of content in multiple languages, and we knew that we would expect to receive a lot of comments in those languages directly.
That is, I mean, it's great that it does that. It's just not a problem I had considered. And that's such a cool, I mean, you're right. I speak like a little bit of Spanish. I don't write it. I don't. And so just it would be a very prohibiting thing, I think, to feel like you have to be able to communicate in someone else's language if you can't.
Mm-hmm.
And so sort of coming from that idea, I imagine part of what you're using your community for is to help your workers collaborate. So how do you try, I mean, besides the language thing, which is amazing, how have you fostered more engagement in your communities? Do you have any tips? I'd love tips.
Well, I mean, naturally, there's a little bit of intrepidation to asking questions or posing what you perceive as a problem, right? No one wants to be seen as, oh, I'm unable to do something. So what we've really tried to do, and it's an ongoing campaign, obviously, is to encourage people to share business challenges and how they've, perhaps, developed a business improvement. So this is one of the points that we really picked up on when we were doing some of the interviews with our colleagues is, for example, in that French language example that I mentioned, you have people working in the DRC who have, certain challenges that they face every day. And we have, colleagues working in Montreal or in the north of Canada where they speak French. And it's now opening up those channels so that they're able to communicate within the company across several sites across the world. So that for us is really, a positive side of having the community aspect instead of everything, just relying on who you know and being able to email somebody. Yeah.
Great. How much personalization do you guys do? Can you personalize your employees' intranet and content? And how do you, I just feel like, especially for a global organization with so many employees, there must be so much news and information coming at them. How can you personalize the content they're receiving?
So one of the areas that we're able to open up when it comes to personalization is around the news and content that you're interested in and being able to follow those news channels. Just as you can program favorites on your VCR or your TV box, not very many people do that. But it is a way that from I think Beezy often refers to this as the push versus the pull, where, working in corporate communications, there's always a lot of content that we want to push out to the group.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, there's ways that we can categorize those news articles so that the employee can choose what type of information they want to see on their homepage. What that provides us with as well is some sense of what types of content or what areas of our business are more interesting to the employees. And then we can work with those teams and our global functions or our departments across the world to provide more and more content in those particular areas. So right now for us, obviously sustainability and recycling are very huge topics. Mm-hmm. And these are where we can see, a lot of content that should be created to meet the needs of those employees so that they can personalize their homepage to receive more information in those topics.
Well, Neil, this has been fascinating. I could keep asking you questions all day, but I know it's late where you are. And I just wanted to say thank you again for taking not just the time to record the case study with us, but to show up so late at night and take our questions live. We really appreciate it. We appreciate our partner, Beezy. We will send this recording out tomorrow. So if you missed it live or you want to share it with someone else, we'll definitely have it. And we'll also send out the contact information Neil shared at the end if you have questions you'd like to follow up specifically with Neil about. But so Neil, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your night.
Yeah, thank you, Shannon. Thank you to all of those who attended. And yes, look forward to speaking to you all very soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Have a good evening.